have the skeletal system as a part of the seven processes. So, one of them is how bones and muscles are going to be helpful in many ways, like so in that case we are going to talk about this skeletal system. You see that the skeleton of man is made up of 206 bones, and these 206 bones are classified into two types. So, axial skeleton, and another one is appendicular skeleton. So, I repeat, skeletal system of man is useful in many ways, we are going to look at it, and then we are also going to see. So, we have two types of skeleton, axial and appendicular. So, together make 206 bones, okay, together make 206 bones. That is what we are going to see about on this demo session. Okay, so let's now proceed with the skeletal system. Yes, we will proceed with the skeletal system. You see what is the function of a skeletal system. You can find here that it is required for movement. So, when did a skeletal system exactly form full fledged? So, skeletal was more of cartilaginous in the beginning, then it became bony later. Okay, so, we classify the animal into two types. One is vertebrates, another one is invertebrates. So, once they have the vertebral column, we call them as vertebrates. Invertebrates do not have the vertebra. Okay, so they come under the invertebrates, starting from porifera till starfish. Okay, starting from porifera to till starfish, they all belong to this invertebrates. Okay, invertebrates. So, vertebrates are the ones which have the notochord or the notochord replaced by spinal cord. Okay, vertebral column. Okay, that we call them as vertebrates. So, if notochord is replaced by vertebral column, they belong to advanced vertebrates. In some of them, this notochord may also persist. I repeat, notochord is very important. Okay, this notochord is mesodermally derived, and this notochord presence is the reason we classify vertebrates and invertebrates. Okay, so this notochord may be persistent as in some of the lower forms, including say Ascidian. Okay, Ascidian, in which the notochord is persistent in them, whereas notochord is replaced by vertebral column. Okay, is replaced by vertebral column in man. Okay, so we will belong here. Okay, so wherein the notochord is replaced by vertebral column. So, as such, if you look at the history of the skeletal system across the lower forms till higher forms, so we have categorized animals into two categories, invertebrata, vertebrata. Invertebrata do not have a defined skeletal system. Vertebrates do have a defined skeletal system, and initially we said it had notochord. Okay, this is an evolutionary milestone, that is the formation of this notochord. If the notochord can be persistent as in Ascidian, or notochord as in Ascidian as we saw, and notochord may be replaced by vertebral column as in man, as in human being. Okay, so let us now see what are the functions of this vertebral column, functions of this skeletal system. So, it is essential for the movement. Okay, it is essential for the movement. It provides attachment of for muscles, as you see here, it provides attachment for muscles. Okay, attachment for muscles. Then all our muscles are attached to the bones, either in the form of ligament or tendons. When a bone and bone joint, we call them as ligament. When a bone joins with the muscle, we call it as a tendon. So, it offers support. As you can see, it is a support center for the upper body. Okay, it is a support center for the upper body, and then it holds our head and protects our spinal cord. Okay, so these are some of the functions of the skeletal system, as you can see here. And protection. So, the bones of your skull protect your brain. Okay, definitely the cranial box. So, we call them as, we call that cranial box as brain box, isn't it? Brain box is nothing but cranium. Okay, brain box is nothing but cranium, and as you see that rib cage, brain box protects our brain, and that rib cage, okay, rib cage protects lungs, heart, everything. So, when did exactly this rib cage form? So, did reptiles had rib cage? Reptiles had rib cage. Was rib cage present in birds? Yes, rib cage is present in birds. Will amphibians have rib cage? Will fish have rib cage? No. Okay, so we don't find rib cage in amphibians and fish. Okay, so we divide this bony skeletal system into two types. The skeletal system is divided into either it is bony skeleton or cartilaginous skeleton. Okay, bony or cartilaginous. So if it is having cartilage, okay, if it is having cartilage, we call them as chondrite thighs. If the skeletal system is cartilaginous, and we call such animals as cartilaginous animals, which include the fish called chondrite thighs. Chondrite thighs. Okay, so you see that the chondrite thighs are cartilaginous fish. Okay, so this cartilaginous fish do not have bones. Okay, if there is no bone marrow at all also. So what you see here in this picture here is you can see here how this rib cage is protecting the lungs. What is projected to you is the heart. Okay, so here the rib cage is protecting the heart, as you see here, and what you see here is you see that there is a bone marrow inside the bone, right? So bone marrow is inside the bone. So whereas cartilaginous fish or chondrite thighs, or where the animals have only cartilage skeletal system, will not be able to produce their blood cells. So bone marrow is absent in cartilaginous fish, okay, like chondrite thighs, as we see. Okay, yes. So now we have understood the journey of skeletal system from the lowest form to highest form. We categorize animals into two types. One is invertebrates, another one is vertebrates. Then after that, we felt the importance of notochord. So notochord is an evolutionary milestone in the development of skeletal system. Notochord is derived from mesoderm, and this notochord may be persistent in some lower forms. However, it is replaced by vertebral column in advanced animals. Okay, so then we see the functions of this the skeletal system, in which we find that it is required for movement, for the support of the body. Then it is also offers protection to the soft organs like heart, lung, and also it protects the brain. Then it is also a birthplace of blood cells. Okay, what you see here is it is the birthplace of blood cells. The RBCs, WBCs are born inside. Okay, what you see here, right? What you see here as bone marrow, right? So the bone marrow is present within the bones, which is responsible for the production of blood cells, right? Yes. Now, as you see, what else is the role of this? It stores not only calcium, it also stores phosphorus for the body. So we said it's a birthplace of blood cells, and now we find that it also is a storehouse, repository of calcium and phosphorus for the body. So what you see here, yes, now getting into the topic, right? We have two types, right? Axial skeleton. In the beginning of the slide itself, we said totally there are 206 bones. Okay, totally 206 bones are there, out of which we said axial skeleton, appendicular skeleton. Axial skeleton, if you take all the numbers together and then find the total number of bones in the axial skeleton, the total number of bones in the axial skeleton is 80. Okay, 80, and the total number of bones in the appendicular skeleton is 126. 126. So together we have it as 206, got it. So the skeletal system, where we divide them into two. Okay, one is axial, another one is appendicular. Axial is the one where 80 bones are present. Appendicular skeleton involves mostly the pectoral girdle and pelvic girdle. We have that forelimb and hind limb. Okay, forelimb and hind limb, we call it as pectoral girdle and pelvic girdle. Okay, so those are the ones which are present in the appendicular skeleton. Now let us look at the four major types of bones. Okay, the four major types of bones, as you see here, long bones. Okay, the long bones, you can see here this one. Okay, this one is a long bone. Okay, this one is a long bone. This is a long bone. This is a long bone. You call this bone as femur. This is tibia. This is humerus. Those were long bones. Okay, bones of the arms, legs and fingers are referred as long bones. Then short bones. Short bones are present in the wrist and ankles. Okay, in the wrist and ankles we have short bones. Okay, in the wrist bone and the ankle bone are short bones. Flat bones, the skull bone. Okay, the skull bone is very flat. It does not have bone marrow. It cannot produce the RBC or WBC. Okay, so it is a very flat bone. Okay, that is a flat bone. We call this cranial bone or brain box is made up of very flat bones, and they do not produce any blood cells. Then the irregularly shaped, there is no definite shape for the spine, isn't it? The spine will have irregular shape. So based on the shape we categorize bones as long bone, short bone, flat ones and the irregular ones. Yeah, this is what you see. The long bone is humerus or radius or ulna of human bone, human arm, and the short bones are the carpals of wrist. Okay, the carpals of wrist, where we tie the watch, we call that as wrist bone, is made up of very short bones. And what you see is irregularly shaped. Okay, there is no definite shape. The spinal cord is irregularly shaped. Then the flat bones, the cranium. Okay, the cranial bones of skull is made up of flat bones, where they do not produce the blood cells. So let us come to the axial skeleton. So the axial skeleton, okay, the axial skeleton is made up of 80, as we already said. So the axial skeleton is made up of two types of bones. One is cranial bones, another one we are going to take into account the facial bones. Okay, shall we now list all the bones of the cranium? Yes. Now we are going to list all the bones of the cranium. The bones of the cranium are totally 8 in number. Okay, totally 8 in number, out of which two are paired. Okay, 2 are paired. All the rest are single bones. Okay, all the rest are single bones. Only 2 of them are paired bones. Okay, paired bones. Let us see what are the paired bones. Okay, so before the paired bones, let us see what are the frontal bone. So what you have in the temple is frontal bone. Okay, frontal bone. Then next to the temple, that is frontal bone, what we have is parietal bones. Okay, so parietal bones 2 in number. I repeat, frontal bone is 1. 2, 1, single one. Okay, so it's a single plate. It will be a bowl shape. Okay, it is like a bowl shape, because you take this temple and then you find a bowl shape. So it is a single bone. Okay, frontal bone. And parietal bone is next to the frontal bone. We have parietal bones, left parietal, right parietal, so 2 in number. Then temporal bone is just above the ear. Okay, so just above the ear, so it is paired, left ear above the left ear and the right ear, so together it is 2 in number. Then sphenoid bone is what you cannot see from outside. Sphenoid and ethmoid bones cannot be seen from outside. So it forms the base of the skull. Okay, it forms the base of the skull, the roof of the skull. Okay, the roof of the skull is made up of this frontal, okay, frontal, parietal, temporal, occipital. Now we will go back to this particular bone, occipital bone, the back of the brain. Okay, the back of the brain is protected by a occipital bone. So we repeat, so frontal bone, parietal bone, temporal is, frontal bone is this one. Okay, so it comes, as I said, in the bowl shape. Then parietal is after the frontal, then temporal bone is above the ear. Okay, then sphenoid and ethmoid cannot be seen from outside. Then occipital bone is the back of the brain. So that is also like a bowl shape. Okay, it's a bowl shape and it has a lambda suture. So that is occipital bone, that is also single. So if you just take these 2 paired bones and all the rest are single bones, all together you will have 8 bones. Okay, 8 bones. Okay, so that is in total there are 8 bones. Let us now go into the facial bones. The facial bones are vomer. Okay, can you see here? So vomer. After vomer, we are going to see which and all is paired first. I repeat, here there are only 2 paired, the rest are all unpaired. In this case, only 2 are single. I repeat, here in this list, only 2 are paired, all the rest are unpaired. Whereas in this list of facial bones, only 2 are single, all rest are paired. Okay, all rest are paired. Now let us see what are the bones of the facial. Okay, so let us go to the bones of the facial. Lacrimal bones, a nasal, inferior nasal concha, zygomatic bone, maxillary bone, mandible and vomer. Lacrimal is present close to the eye, where the lacrimal gland tear secretion is present. Okay, that is called lacrimal bone, where the tears are present. Okay, where the tears, okay, tear glands, okay, that we call them as lacrimal bone. And nasal bone, okay, the plate, the nasal bone, left and right plate, okay, left plate and right plate. If it is too acute, the nose will the nose and the appeal of the face will be good. If it is flat or stubby, you get a stubby nose of the mongoloid race. Mongoloid race will have, say if it is acute angle, the nose will look sharp. If it is going to be obtuse angle, then it will become flat. Like as you see in Chinese and Japanese race and mongoloid race, we find a stubby nose. It is because of the nasal plate, they are not at acute angle to each other. They are indeed obtuse angle. That is the reason nose looks flat. Okay, so that is a nasal bone. So lacrimal, I said it is near the tears. Then we will come to this vomer later. Okay, then inferior nasal concha. So inferior nasal concha is the one which is inside the nostrils. Okay, it is paired bone. Okay, left and right is there. So definitely it will have two number, totally they are two in number. The zygomatic bone is the one which is a cheekbone, okay, where the cheekbone, the high cheeks, okay, it is all because of the zygomatic bone. And the zygomatic bone also has an arch, okay, we call that as zygomatic arch. This zygomatic arch, okay, will dictate what kind of food we are going to have. So in fossil studies, they look for this zygomatic arch, okay, the zygomatic arch. So if they look at the zygomatic arch, then they can say whether that particular fossil is herbivore or a carnivore. Okay, zygomatic arch. Okay, so coming to maxillary bone, and there are two maxillary bone. Okay, so maxillary bone is paired. Okay, upper jaw. Okay, upper jaw is maxillary bone. I repeat, upper jaw is maxillary bone. Okay, zygomatic, I said it's cheekbone. Okay, upper jaw is maxillary, and lower jaw is mandible. Okay, so upper jaw is, we have left and right. Okay, left maxilla and right maxilla, so it will be paired. Okay, it will be paired, and here same way this tears also will have the above the close to the left eye and the right eye, hence it is paired. Okay, now coming to mandible. Mandible is always a single, lower jaw is always a single bone, right? So it is a single bone. So vomer, coming now to vomer bone is the one which is separates the left nostril and the right nostril. So it is single in number. Vomer is the one which segregates the left nostril with the right nostril, and it is just one. Okay, so all together if you calculate together, it will come around 14. Okay, 14 bones. So combining cranial bones and the facial bones all together we have 22 bones. Okay, 22 bones, right? Yes. Now we saw 22 bones of axial skeleton. Okay, I repeat, we did cranial bones and facial bones. Cranial bones, only 2 are paired. Okay, whereas in the case of facial bones, only 2 are unpaired. Only 2 are unpaired. Yes, now we proceed. Yeah, you can see whatever bones I have told you. This is the frontal bone. You can see, as I said, it looks like a beggar's ball. Okay, so this is the frontal bone. The yellowish, the peach color one is the frontal bone, and behind that will be the, you can see here, behind that will be the parietal bone. Okay, parietal bone. And sphenoid and ethmoid is very, as I said, you cannot view it very from outside. You can see the purple one is the sphenoid bone, right? Sphenoid bone, and ethmoid bone is the green color one, okay, which cannot be seen from outside. Okay, then this is the mandible. Okay, the mandible helps us to speak, helps us to eat food. Okay, to for this very flexible bone where it articulates with this bone where it is highly movable. Okay, right, mandible. This is the maxilla. Okay, the left maxilla and the right maxilla. So you can see this orangish color is maxillary bone, okay, orangish color is maxillary bone, and here is the nasal bone. The purple one is the nasal bone, as I said, more acute, sharp the noses, okay. If it is obtuse angle, stubby the noses, okay. Then we see the blue one, which is the zygomatic bone, okay, zygomatic bone. Then we also see the palatine bone, okay. You see a palatine bone. The palatine bone is the roof of the buccal cavity, okay. The roof of the buccal cavity is made up of palatine bone, and it is called the roof of the buccal cavity is characterized into two, hard palate and soft palate, and hard palate is made up of two bones, okay, left palate, right palate. So, two together, okay, together it will become two bones, okay, which I think we did not take this palatine bone into consideration here. So, we have to take the palatine bone into consideration, left palate, right palate together. Then now come here, as we see, this is the vomer. Can you see the vomer here? So, the vomer is the one which segregates the left nostril with that of the right nostril, okay. Vomer is in the center, as we see, okay. So, then these are some of the fissures, okay, fissures and foramen. Foramen means it is a slit. You can see that it's a slit through which the blood and nerves get in and get out, okay. So, those are the slits where it communicates with the other rest of the body. So, that is called, so you can see in the mandible you have a mental foramen, okay. So, in the maxilla we have infraorbital foramen likewise. Yeah, you can also, this is a lateral view of this as you hold the skull, okay, upside down, topsy turvy, you see this is the way it is arranged, and here is the frontal bone, and you can see now the sphenoid bone. As I said outset, we will not be able to see the sphenoid bone, but look at this, now you can see this purple color sphenoid bone very well, okay. Sphenoid bone is there. Then the back of the brain is protected by occipital bone. You can see the occipital bone at the back of the brain, okay. And then we find a very large slit, okay, very large slit, and this very large slit is foramen magnum. This very large slit is where the nerve and spinal cord move out of the skull through this foramen magnum. I repeat, foramen magnum, this is foramen magnum is a place, it is an exit site of spinal cord, okay. It is an exit site of spinal cord from the brain, okay. So, this is where the spinal cord move out to the rest of the body, okay. It is an exit site of spinal cord, that is the foramen magnum. Foramen is any slit through which nerves or blood vessels come out and go in, okay. So, this is one, okay, that is foramen magnum, a very broad slit as you can see, and we claim our skull as you can see here, okay. So, our skull is dicondylic skull. I repeat, our skull is dicondylic skull, okay. So, it is because we have two condyles next to this foramen magnum, okay, two condyles next to foramen magnum, that is why we call it as our skull is dicondylic skull. If you look at birds have monocondylic skull, okay, birds have monocondylic skull, whereas we humans have dicondylic skull. Even frog also have dicondylic skull, monocondylic. Okay, birds have monocondylic skull, and as I said, humans have dicondylic skull, and condyle is a bone which is next to the foramen magnum, and there are two in number which we call it as dicondylic. Yes, as we proceed now, you see that, yes, if you can recall what is this question mark, yes, this question mark is nothing but this is going to be the frontal bone, isn't it? So, this is frontal bone, okay. What you see here is frontal bone, and behind frontal is parietal, the back of the brain here is going to be occipital, and this is maxilla, mandible, then we have lacrimal close here, then this is the nasal bone, vomer, inferior nasal concha is, these two are inferior nasal concha, which I said outside you cannot see it, these are inferior nasal concha, and as you see the maxilla, the two maxilla, only one single dentary bone or mandibular bone, okay. So, together this makes up the cranium and facial bones of the skull. Yeah. Now, we are moving ahead with vertebral column and rib cage. Okay. So, again if you look at rib cage, okay, so rib cage evolved only in reptiles, birds and mammals. Okay, so rib cage is not seen in amphibians. Frog do not have rib cage, right? So, frogs do not have rib cage. Fish will not have rib cage. Rib cage was evolved to protect the organs in the anterior end, okay, to protect the organs in the ventral side. Okay, we call that, oh, those organs are like heart, lung, spleen. Okay, so to protect these organs, so that is how the vertebral column came to the frontal area, ventral area, and then formed a cage like structure only in few animals. Frogs, as we said, do not have a rib cage. Fish, as we said, do not have a rib cage. So, what are the animals which have rib cage? Birds, mammals, we all have rib cage. Okay, birds has it, mammals have it, including man, we all have rib cage. Okay, rib cage is an adaptation, evolutionary adaptation to protect the organs in the ventral end like heart and lung. Okay. So, you see a rib cage over there, and what are the different bones of the rib cage? The bones of the rib cage are categorized into true ribs, false ribs and floating ribs. There are three categories: true ribs, false ribs and floating ribs. Okay. True ribs, false ribs and floating ribs. Okay. So, we have three categories. The true ribs are, as you see here, 1, I am just pointing it out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They are directly connected to, okay. So, all these 7 which we marked just now are directly connected towards the sternum. This one, what is zoomed for us is the sternum or breastbone. So, to this the 7 bones are attached, whereas you can see this is 8th bone. Okay, 8, 9, okay, 10 will not be attached to the sternum, rather it will be attached to the 7th. This is 7th, right? So, it will be attached to the 7th bone. So, those 3 are called as false ribs. Okay, these 4, 8, 9 and 10 are false ribs. I repeat, 8, 9, 10 are false ribs, whereas 1 to 7 they all are true ribs. Okay, 1 to 7 they are all true ribs, whereas 8, 9 and 10 are false ribs, because they are attached straight away to the 7th bone. Okay, 7th bone. So, they are called as false ribs. And the last 2 you see, that is 11th and 12th. Okay, can you see here? 11th and 12th. This 11th and 12th are floating ribs. I repeat, 11th and 12th that you see in the slide are floating ribs, and they do not converge to the front and then form a cage like structure. They are just there only in the dorsal end. They are not seen in the ventral side. Okay, so such bones are called, those 2, the last 2. Okay, the last 2 are called floating ribs. Okay, so those 2 are floating ribs. Okay. Yes, now we saw the bones of the rib cage. Okay. So, you can see here the first 7 are true ribs, the 8, 9, 10, 8, 9, 10 are false ribs, 8, 9, 10. So, not 12, there is a mistake, you can correct it. So, 8, 9 and 10, okay, 10 are false ribs, 11 and 12 are floating ribs. Okay. And let us now take into account the bones of the vertebral column. The bones of the vertebral column, we remember when we classified the bones based on the types, we classified the bone, this particular spinal column as irregular bone, flat bone, long bone, short bone and irregular bone. So, look at the shape, apparently it can be categorized under irregular category, because they do not have a definite shape, because there is a spinous process. Okay, you can see that there is a projection, right? There is a projection, you can see there are projections here on every bone, and we call that as spinous projections, right? Here, yeah, this is the spinous process. Okay, so they are categorized under irregular shape, and now when we classify this bone, we have to take into account this formula, which is easy to remember. Okay. So, now let us see how many bones are present in the cervix. So, to remember all these bones in there is a like formula. If you write it, it will be easy for us to remember. C7 is cervical bones are 7 in number. Okay, shall we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, cervical bones 7 in number. Then thorax, okay, thorax bones are 12 in number, right? Thorax bones are 12 in number. Shall we count thorax bones? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So, thoracic bones are 12 in number. Then come to, so what you saw as A is all cervical bones, okay, cervical bones. What you see in blues are all thoracic bones, okay, what you see in blue are thoracic bones, and what you see in the yellow are lumbar bones, okay, what you see here are lumbar bones, and L5, okay, shall we count and see? As we said, L5. L5, okay, that is, let us go to this yellow shade and then see if they are yellow, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, L5. Then come to the last one, okay, the last bone is called sacrum, okay, the last bone is sacrum followed by coccyx. So, the D is called, okay, D is a fusion of bones, okay, D is a fusion of bones, and the last one E is called coccyx. Okay, I repeat, this is cervical, okay, this is thorax, thoracic, okay, this is lumbar, and this one is sacral bone, and the last one is caudal bone or coccygeal bone. It can be called either way, caudal bone or coccygeal bone, okay, caudal or coccygeal. So, now we are here a C7, T12, L5, S5, S5, CO4, okay, CO4. So, together they are 33 bones, together there will be 33 bones. But when you calculate the number of bones in the skeletal system, we should not use this formula, we should use a different formula, that is, we should take this coccygeal bone as a fusion of one bone, okay. So, in that case what could be the formula? So, when we calculate 206 bones, we have to use a different formula. What is it? C7, T12, okay, T12, L5, S and CO, 1. Okay. So, together we have to use this formula, okay, take it as this as 1, okay, take this as 1, okay, take it as a fusion of this fusion of 4 as 1, okay, as 1, and the fusion of 5 as 1. So, in that case like 12, then 19, 20, 26 bones. Now, what we have found out is 26 bones should be the bones of the spinal cord, which has to be used for calculating the number of bones of the body, whereas otherwise actually if you just take the sacrum into consideration, sacrum is a fusion of 5 bones. So, 5, then coccygeal or caudal is a fusion of 4 bones as we listed here. Okay. So, either it is 33 or 26, but for the sake of calculation here in the number of total number of bones, which is 206, we have to only use the first formula where it is just 26 bones. Okay. So, I repeat, 26 bones are present in the vertebral column, where S sacrum is a fusion of 5, coccygeal is a fusion of 4. Yes, this is what we have been talking about, the C7, T12, L5, S1, CO1, coccygeal, you can see here, isn't it? You can see here, isn't it? This is the coccygeal and this is the sacral. Okay, lumbar 5, thorax 12, T12, this is what we learnt. Okay, T12, C7, T12, L5, S1, CO1, S1, CO1. Okay, yes. Now we proceed with this. Yeah, this is what is sacral bone. Sacral bone, as I said, is the fusion of 5 bones, right? The fusion of 5 is the sacral bone, as you see here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 slits are there. So, it is a fusion of 5 bones, and this is the coccyx. If you number the coccyx, you also find it as it is a fusion of 1, 2, 3 and 4, fusion of 4 bones. Okay, that is the coccyx. Yes, as we proceed here, this is the skeletal system we have been doing. We finished off this axial skeleton, which is totally 80 in number. The axial skeleton includes cranial bones, facial bones, then spinal cord, as well as the rib cage. Okay, rib cage. And what we have left here is the single bone, hyoid bone. Okay, there is a hyoid bone. This hyoid bone is another single bone present in the tongue region. So, it is responsible for the movement of the tongue. Okay. So, that is one single bone. Okay. This hyoid bone is a single bone. Okay. So, together 80 bones comprise of the axial skeleton. Now, let us proceed with quickly about the appendicular skeleton. Okay. The appendicular skeleton, as I told you in the beginning, appendicular skeleton is nothing but the forelimb and the hind limb. Forelimb is pectoral girdle. Okay. Pectoral girdle is forelimb. Okay. Hind limb is pelvic girdle. Okay. Pectoral girdle is forelimb and hind limb we refer it as pelvic girdle. Okay. So, those are the pectoral and pelvic girdles are the bones of the appendicular skeleton. As we now proceed here. So, the appendicular skeleton forelimb has clavicle and scapula. Clavicle is the collarbone, as you see here, clavicle is the collarbone. Okay. Then we have scapula. Okay. We also have scapula. You can see that is the shoulder blade as seen in the picture. Okay. You can see a beautiful picture over there where the scapula is highlighted. It is a triangular bone. Okay. Triangular bone with articulates with the collarbone. Okay. Then apart from scapula and clavicle, we have the humerus, which is the longest bone, then radius and ulna. Okay, radius and ulna. So, in the lower form of the forelimb, we have two bones. Okay, one is radius, another one is ulna. So, if you keep a thumbs up, the bone which is on top of it is the radius, and what is there on the bottom is the ulna. Then the wrist bone where we tie watches are carpals, and metacarpals are the 5 bones of the palm. Okay, 5 bones of the palm are metacarpals and phalanges are the finger bones. Okay, phalanges are the finger bones. You can see that when you keep thumbs up, and what you see on the above is the radius, what you see below is the ulna. So, I repeat, so here we said scapula, then we said a triangular bone scapula is there and a collarbone clavicle is there, then humerus, then after humerus radius and ulna, and after radius and ulna here we said it is a wrist bone is carpal. Okay, carpal is wrist bone, and next to carpal the palm bones are metacarpals. Okay, metacarpals, and the last finger bones are called phalanges. Okay, phalanges are the finger bones. Okay. So, that is what is displayed over here for you. Radius, ulna, carpals are the wrist bone and the metacarpals are the palm bones and the finger bones are phalanges. And you can see the metacarpals, we call them as carpal, as palm bones, and these are the finger bones, phalanges. It will be as you see here 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 3 each, whereas only the thumb will have 1 and 2, 2. Okay. So, altogether 14 bones, altogether 14 bones are the bones of the finger, which we call it as phalanges. Okay. I repeat, 3 bones in the 4 of the fingers, thumb alone will have only 2. So, altogether 14 bones. And now let us come to the pelvic girdle. The pelvic girdle is made up of this pelvic bone or hip bone, we call it as hip bone, right. So, this is also known as hip bone. This hip bone or dancing bone, okay, is made up of a fusion of the left side and the right side, ilium, ischium and pubis. Okay. So, ilium, ischium and pubis, it is a fusion again. Okay, ilium, ischium and pubis. Okay. So, as you see here, it is a fusion of ilium, ischium, bone is the hip bone, okay, or pelvic bone. Okay. Then after this we have this femur, you can see the long bone femur, here is the long bone femur, this is the long bone femur, which is the largest and longest bone of the body. Then this afterwards in the lower part we have two bones, which is tibia and fibula. Okay, this tibia is the also known as weight bearing bone. Okay, so it is the one bone which holds our weight. So it is a weight bearing bone is tibia. Okay. Then patella, patella is the kneecap, patella is the kneecap. Okay, kneecap is patella. We do not have such a cap in the forelimb, only patella is, which is made up of sesamoid bone, is present only in the lower arm. In upper arm we do not have a similar kneecap. Okay. So kneecap or patella is present here, and then weight bearing bone is tibia, then also we have a fibula. Then comes the foot, we call it as tarsal, metatarsal and phalanges. Okay, tarsal bones, okay, tarsal bones is one less. Okay, so it will be, it is just 7, unlike 8 bones of the wrist of the forelimb, it is just a number of these bones is, so in wrist, okay, in wrist bones they are 8 in number. So 8 into 2, 16 bones, whereas in the case of foot we only, or sole, we only have 7 in number. Okay, 7 into 2, 14 only, but instead there is patella added, right? So it will compensate. Okay, so the number total will come as 206. Okay, so wrist bones have 8 individual bones, whereas foot only will have 1 less. So and the left and the right together 14 bones. And finally the phalanges, as you can see, the tibia, fibula. So before that there will be femur, tibia, fibula, then tarsal, which for total we said the number of total bones here is 7. Okay, then metatarsals only 5, okay, 5 each side, phalanges will be 14 each side. Okay, 14 each side. So if you take into account all of this, we get it as 206. Okay, so the summary is going to be axial skeleton is 80 bones and appendicular skeleton is going to be 126 bones. So that way we have learnt the skeletal system in detail, and we have taken into account the 206 bones, and we found the functions of each bone, and then we also taken